Are you ready for some hardware? And finishing touches.
Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my garage. Yes, I am not in the shop and this is the dresser and it is finally built. I've done all of the little things on it that can be done and it is ready for finish. So in this video I want to go through some of the hardware and the final steps before finish, just making sure that everything is fit upright and working well. So let's jump into the video.
Okay, here I want to go through some of the hardware and finishing steps needed for this dresser. These are the handles I picked out, and I'll actually use a measure to center them so I have the same measurement from side to side. Then I'll just kind of lean them over, and that will allow me to put marks underneath. If they're off by a hair, oh well, no one's really going to notice it. They're all far enough apart. But then I can drill them out so that the screw has a hole to go through. Kind of straightforward. But a little bit of fun with egg beater is enjoyable. Now these are actually the stops for the drawers so the drawers don't go too far. I bought them at the big box store and I need to put a hole through the middle of each one to actually go into the structure. You'll see that in a minute. But this is where this beam drill, post drill is just so much fun. It is designed for drilling through steel and this is where it's at home. And I just love this tool, and I guess that's why I just like showing it off, but yeah. So after drilling a hole through each of these, I need to countersink all of the heads so that the screws will lie flat with the steel. I just put a countersink bit into this brace. It's a short throw brace, so it actually goes fairly quickly. And then I need to mount them to the back of the dresser, and I'll just do a hole for the screw to go in so that the screw doesn't split out the back of all of these pieces of wood. And then there you can see how I screw it on, and it's a stop for the drawer. A little while later I'll talk about why I don't put a back on this as opposed to just putting these stops, but I really like this method, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Now let's move on to some of the finishing in the drawers. I'm using a West System epoxy because there's a lot of little gaps and holes that I want to fill. And so I can mix that up. I really like this. It's for the price, it is fantastic epoxy. And then I'll use a little bit of trans-tint dye. I'll leave a link to this down below to show you what dye I'm actually using, just to mix in a little bit of color so that it matches well. And then I can put it into the voids, cracks, and holes on the dresser front. This is a very, very figured wood, and with that you're usually going to have a few voids that need to be addressed. But yeah, with a little bit of work I can put it in here. I'm using gaff tape as opposed to masking tape. I much prefer that for masking off epoxy. It works so much better. It adheres well and secures it. But after the epoxy is dried, I can come in with a cabinet scraper or a card scraper and finish off the surface. The scraper is actually great for cleaning off epoxy. It leaves a nice surface. Now on to the next stop. I need to put on connectors to put the top onto the dresser itself. I'm using these figure 8 connectors. So after drawing the circle on the top of the brace, I can come in with a gouge that has the appropriate curvature and make a stop cut all the way around. Then with the bevel down on a regular bench chisel, I can remove the waste and bring it down to the depth so that this figure 8 clip sits flush with the surface of the carcass. It's fairly straightforward, a very simple system. I just need to drill a hole in the middle for the screw, so again I'm not splitting out the wood. But yeah, it goes in, and then you can put a screw down in. It's a very, very simple system. These are actually very heavy duty. They're not the lighter weight ones. And if you put them on the members that go front to back, then you have the ability to wiggle them forward and backward so that when the wood expands and contracts, there is movement front to back. And so that's their purpose. And then you can just put the second screw into the top, making sure you pre-drill for that screw as well. And I think I have 10 of these on this dresser. It's enough that if I pick up on the top, I can actually pick up the dresser, even though it's extremely heavy. Now the last thing I need to do is do some carving. I'm actually putting numbers into the back and bottom of all of the drawers so that I know which drawer goes in which slot. And I'm just doing Roman numerals 1 through 10. I kind of like the way it looks, and putting them in the back and bottom is a nice little touch. The last thing I need to do is the finishing touches on the carcass itself. After emptying it out, I can bring it over and set it on the bench. It's about 110 pounds at this point, so fairly heavy, but oh well. I want to put down some corbels on the side, but rather than making traditional corbels with a bit of an ogee, I want to just make a triangular shape. So I start by jointing up this piece of curly white oak and drawing out lines. The corbels will be 5 inches tall and stick out from the face 1 inch, and they'll be triangular. So a very simple geometric shape, but I really like how it came out. After drawing them out, I can put them in the vise and cut down all of the faces of the triangles, and then I can put all of those individual pieces into the vise and smooth them out with a plane to give them a nice clean surface ready for glue and finish. Just make sure that all of the flat surfaces are smooth. And with the geometric shape, that's actually pretty easy and a simple step to do. Here you can see how they actually go on. This is the top outside of the dresser, and with a little bit of glue, I don't want any squeeze out, and these aren't really structural, so they're not going to be anything massive, so it doesn't take much glue at all. I can just wiggle them into place and then grab a clamp and clamp them on. And that's all the corbels are. All of the through pins and tenons need to be shaped, so I need to actually spend some time on those. I'll slowly work by beveling down one corner. This particular method will dull your chisel very quickly, so be careful with it. The picking in, whereas if you use a mallet and slice across like this, it is far better on the chisel, but you also run the risk of going past and dinging up your surface. So you have to be very, very careful with this step and take it slowly. After doing all 4 sides, I give it a flat top, and I just kind of like the way it looks. It gives it a square shape to a round peg. Then I can use a card scraper and clean up any dings or scratches I might have had around so that it is basically ready for finish. Next up, I need to do the through tenons, and these are done much the same way as the pegs. I'm just going to be going bevel down and slicing in on one angle about 45 degrees, something like that. Being very careful that the corner of the chisel closest to the surface does not ding the surface. Just a slow and steady hand. I'll take it all the way through, just shy of the far end. I don't want to blow out the other side. And then I'm going to flip the chisel over and do the opposite edge all the way along that corner of the tenon, and just again taking it slow and not blowing out the far side. And then I can, with the bevel down again, come in and clean the top flat. I want it sticking out about 1/8 of an inch, nothing more. And then it's that last little bit I left over there, and this is where you have to be careful because it's very easy to explode out the other side. And here I almost have a problem when it goes pop. Oof, that was close. I'm always making sure that my force is trying to pull it up and away from it so I don't end up scratching up the surface. But with a little bit of work, it cleans up pretty nicely. Now, let's do this. This thing is ready for finish, so let's get this thing upstairs. And a lot of people have been asking me, how in the world am I going to bring this dresser upstairs? Fully loaded, it's close to 250 pounds. But you can do it piece by piece, drawers at a time, top at a time, and then you're just left with the carcass. And this is actually a little bit lighter than your average washer. And I used to be an appliance delivery guy, so this really isn't that big of a deal. It's only about 110 pounds. So you can put it on a dolly and roll the carcass up the stairs. I'm being very, very careful at this point not to damage the walls, as this dresser will run through just about any wall I put it into. I don't have as much fear about damaging the dresser. But yeah, we have the dresser upstairs. I have one more video on finishing, and hopefully next week we'll be doing all of the other fun with this dresser. So I hope you've been enjoying this series.
So there you have it. This has been a blast. I'm a little over a year and 4 months working on it, and I'm almost done, and hopefully this week it'll be done. I'm going to do one more video on the finish, and then I'm going to do a final video on looking at it in its location and actually going over and showing you some of the small features. So this has been an amazing, wild ride, and kind of been something cataloging this channel and how it's grown, because when I started this, it was just when I just started putting out videos for the public. So yeah, this has been a very, very cool project. Let me answer a couple questions that some people may be asking. Number one, why didn't I put a back on this dresser? And the big reason for that is backs, if they are solid wood, are one of the major sticking points. They're cross-grained no matter what you do, so you're always going to have expansion, contraction, movement issues if you put a back onto it. There are ways around that, and really any way around that is going to limit the function of a back, giving it lateral support. Due to doing all the motors and tenon and sliding dovetail joints on this, I have no fear at all about its lateral support. This thing is as strong as a beast, and that's not something I'm going to be doing. So the back really won't add anything to it, and I kind of like the idea of an open back. You get to look at it and see it's not something that'd be factory made. This is something that is very, very special and something that is kind of cool, and I like that about it. So this is kind of an expression about who I am and what I do. So I hope you've liked this video. A lot going on. One more video to come in the series, and then I'll do a final on the actual details. But I'm going to spend the next week doing finishing here, and then I'll show you how I do that hopefully next week. So stay tuned for that. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments below. So I hope you liked this video. It was a blast of a video for me, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. If you did like it, please hit like and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, I want to say a thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are the reason why this channel keeps rolling and why we're here today. If you'd like to help out with that, you can find out more at the link right down here. Also, if you like this video, feel free to check out one of my others. You might find something you like there. And until next time, have a wonderful day.